All right, so one, I apologize. I feel guilty. I did not really record much of the build. I was going to, but honestly, it was just taking so long, and I wanted to get the build done because I was creeping up on, or am creeping up on 1,000 subs way quicker than I was expecting. And recording things takes a long time. So does editing. But right now, we are in the final moments of the giveaway build, hanging it. So where things sit right now, I have made a sheath. I haven't oiled it yet, but used the nice Wicket and Craig English bridle leather, brass stud closure, stitched, riveted, fully welted, a fold-over sheath. So we've got that. We've got the 32 or 30. Honestly, I can't remember which it is. It's like 31 inches right now. So it probably was a 32. Yeah, it's 31 inches right now. So it's probably a 32C from Whiskey River Trading. I have, if we can get that to focus, I have shaped up the palm swell in my usual scroll end. The Whiskey Rivers are really set up nicely to do this. The shape very easily, significantly easier than the house handles. Though they're a bit more expensive, they are a nice handle. I thinned it down a little bit in this direction, so we've got a slow taper from here, kind of to the center, and then it stays about the same until about here. Then we slowly get wider as we get up to the shoulder. This big, tall-eye jersey needs a tall tongue in order to fit on it. So that takes us to the head. The head was in really nice condition, right? It's a super clean jersey pattern, round lug. I believe it's a Plumb. You can kind of tell the remnants from the square sticker on the front, and it looked like there was kind of a round. No, that was the other X. You can see the square sticker on the front, where it was like the Plumb sticker. Originally, if I can find the pictures, we'll try to throw one in here. Originally, when I removed the handle remnants, when I got this, it had that signature red paint on it. So every indication that it is a Plumb. The pole on it is really pretty clean. A couple little nicks and stuff like that, but nothing outrageous, nothing egregious. We've got the very inside of the top of the eye chamfered because there was a little lip there, just that was kind of from the forging marks. So we've chamfered that very slightly, and we've done the same with that bottom lip there. It's gradual. You don't want to make a steep chamfer. Just very gradual, just to have that little bit of a slope so it kind of hugs that shoulder and you don't create that real steep shelf. Tonight I just finished putting an edge on it. I don't know. We'll see how well you can see this. Maybe you can. Yeah. There you go. You can see I put a nice edge on it, mirror polished. Took a little while to do, and again, it goes a lot quicker when you don't record, unfortunately. So right now we are ready to take that head, take that handle, use this nice maple wedge that I made. Wedge tapers, it's a nice tall one. This is actually out of wood that I've harvested from my own yard. It's actually a tree that came down 4 years ago now. So we fit it to the eye so it fits in there very nicely. Goes down about that far without any hammering. So once we get down to that last little bit, we can kind of drive it home. It should make a nice snug fit. The handle is sanded and burnished. Sanded with 100 grit, then 220, then just burnished with some fine steel wool. And honestly, that gives it a glassy, smooth finish. I know you can do a lot more grits in between, but kind of a working axe, so I don't see the need here. Yeah, that's all I had on hand, so at least for my orbital sander. Yeah, so I might actually, I might need to drop that kerf a little lower. We're going down there. Jeez. Oh man. All right. I don't want to cut myself. Hang on. There we go. It says tight fit. So we are. Yeah, we're gonna drop that kerf a little bit lower. It looks like we're sitting right about there. So I want to drop that kerf just a little bit lower. So to deepen the kerf, I actually find it really handy to use this this hacksaw or sawzall blade. It's a Diablo wood one, like pruning one. Good length, good width. It's usually about the same width as standard factory kerfs come in. So it's kind of nice for deepening it. And we'll drop it, I don't know, about another ½ inch or so. And thankfully that's going to be hidden by the by the head. And it's probably about where we stop our kerf anyway, so. So one of the other things I like to do, is just taper the kerf gradually. Nothing crazy, but just throw a C-clamp on it, and then you can see at the bottom of the kerf where it's not being pinched, the saw slips in. And as you move up, if you tighten this, as you move up, the kerf starts getting pinched by the C-clamp, right? So as you saw, you're widening that kerf. You're making it a very gradual V shape. And it's gradual, but that's a slight taper to the kerf. This axe really didn't need much to start with, so. Hit it with a little sandpaper from where we got our clamp marks. Alright, so now I am going to mark. I explain everything too much. You guys have probably seen me do this a bunch of times, but if you're new and you haven't, I'm going to mark the depth on my wedge that I know it will be at full depth. So if I hit that point and it's not gotten good compression yet, I probably needed a thicker wedge. So hopefully it stops, just shy of that, maybe ½ an inch, ½ of an inch, and I just can't get the wedge to move anymore. Yeah, because I don't want my wedge to bottom out. Alright. Last seat here. Where did I put it? I do have my little palm swell saber thingy there. And I know I've said it a ton of times too, but one of the things I really like about this scroll end design is where you're hammering is all supported grain, so you run the risk of chipping off a piece a lot less than if you've got a flat fawn's foot. Yeah, I just think it looks cool. So it's a very functional design on top of just looking good. So you can see that seat is nice and far down on that shoulder. It's looking really good. You can see, hopefully, we've got a good fit all the way around. Just a tiny gap in that back corner, but I am going to hit this a couple more times. See if we can drive it just a little bit further. A little heavier hammer too. And yes, hammering on this does dent it up a little bit, but it's also really easy to correct. All right, I like it. I like how that jersey sits on the shoulder. One of the things that I didn't mention is, because of the length of this handle, and I wanted to keep as much length on it as possible, I did shorten the back of the shoulder here, just like I did with my Tasmanian pattern. So, you know, this tongue was significantly longer. I haven't cut anything off it. You know, this handle probably went down to here on that shoulder, but I wanted to keep the length, so I just shaped it out. That's one of the nice things about with the Risky River handles is it's such a long tongue that if you want to hang it lower and keep a shorter handle, great, you can do that. If you want to keep it taller, and you want to not have like a giant amount of tongue sticking out, you can just kind of drop the back of that shoulder back and have it looking normal. So now I have my little palm swell saber on the palm swell. That's going right on the ground. And now I'm just going to hammer this and hope that it goes well. Did measuring, did fitting. It's probably, seating the wedge is probably the most stressful point in a hang, in my opinion. Now, what do you guys think? And I know different guys do it lots of different ways. Gosh, I wish I remember his channel name. I believe his name's Joe. But I'll put the link right here. He did a really good video that aligns really well with my thoughts on seating wedges and the theory behind it. I don't like using glue. I don't like using oil. Like in the video, he talked about it being a mortise and tenon joint, right? The tongue of the axe handle is the tenon. You know, the axe side is the mortise. You want a friction fit. You want that wedge to stay in there. I completely agree. I don't think it needs. I don't know. I don't think it needs lubrication. I've never had issues with it feeling like it was getting stuck. And in my mind, I'd rather have it go in as dry as possible. And then after I throw the oil on, it swell up and add that last little bit of compression. In my mind, and I could be wrong, let me know your thoughts on it. My mind is if you throw oil on it beforehand, yeah, it might help the wedge slide in a little bit, but you're kind of pre-swelling that wood a little bit too, and you might not get as good a compression as if you were to drive it in bone dry as possible and then oil it after. I don't know, it's probably one of those things that you can do 6 dozen ways, and they all might work perfectly fine, because really, at the end of the day, as long as your head stays on and it doesn't come loose, you did it right. There's really no right or wrong. It's just how I like doing it. And when it's very, very early starting out, you can kind of tap on the front and the back to kind of steer the wedge in the way that you want it to go. One of the other things is I like putting the palm swell of the axe on the concrete floor. I don't like holding the axe while I'm doing it because the way we just seated the head was suspending it in air and driving on that palm swell. Well, if you're holding the axe by the handle and then you're driving that wedge in, you're doing the opposite of what you did to just drive it, right? So, in my mind, you run the risk of the head jumping up the handle a little bit if you're doing that. Is it low because you're starting to wedge it? Yeah, the risk is pretty low, but in my mind, try to mitigate all the risks as much as possible when you're hanging it, you know? You spend a ton of time on it. You want it to go well. And I can't grip a hammer well with gloves. I don't like it, so I'll drop the glove for that one. Alright, we're already getting very tight compression there. I may have made my wedge just a touch too fat. And that's the other thing is I really beat the hell out of these things when I try to drive it on. I want as tight of a fit as I possibly can. And I do kind of like cutting the wedges with the growth rings running this way, so that way it has a higher chance of shearing in the middle. So that way, if the back end wants to, it's done compressing. You can't get any more out of it. The whole wedge might shear, and then you can start driving the front half even further. So it's like a two-part wedge. It turns into a two-part wedge, I guess. So that might happen here. I wouldn't be upset if it did, because I feel like I can get a little bit more compression in the front, or maybe it'll just drive in a little further too, so. And one of the other things, I don't know if you noticed it when I first started doing it, I chamfered, I made a very tall wedge, and I chamfered the edges on here to try to best support the wedge as much as possible. So. That's one of the things I like about the maple too, is it can really take a beating, and it compresses just enough, I think. I mean, it's crazy how much plasticity that maple has, right? Like, it's just deforming and rolling over on itself almost like steel. That's so crazy. I don't think I'm going to get any tighter than that. That is a very tight hang. I tried a couple more swings on the back just to be sure, but yeah, we're done. We're just shooting pieces of the wedge off. So let's get this chucked up on the vise and do some trimming. right. Take a look at that wedge. Yep, we got the little crack in there from where I separated it a little bit, but I love that maple. Super tight hang. You can see that little gap there. It isn't actually a gap. There's a lip around where that like casting or forging mark is. That compression is super, super tight. You can see from there that it's definitely mushroomed out significantly. All right, and then like I was talking about before, I mean, you saw how hard I was hammering on that, and the only thing that happened is that very tip just got slight flattened, you know, just a tiny bit. In which case, it's super easy just to take a file. Alright, so it's done. The axe is completed. The 1,000 subscriber giveaway axe. I think it looks really good. I'm happy with it. Happy with the outcome. The handle feels super good. This thing just means business. It looks. Yeah, I like that sweep on the back of the shoulder there. I love the scroll end as always. This cool old head deserved a cool handle. The wedging job, super duper tight. So Yeah, I think this will make a great usable axe for someone. Happy with how the sheath came out. I think it'll be a good combination. The only thing left is just to throw some oil on it. So let's do that. I've got the remainder of that thinned out boiled linseed oil from the axe racks, so we won't let it go to waste. Start painting it on here. First, though, I guess we'll get the shot of the eye. That's nice. If that oil hits it, get a little more contrast with that maple and that hickory. And I figure there's nothing wrong with getting a touch of BLO on the head too. It'll definitely help it prevent it from rusting. I would not leave a thick layer on because it's not going to soak in, so it'll just get gummy if you go too thick. But light coat is not a bad idea. I think that little kiss of heartwood on the handle, pretty neat. Looks cool.